I try to, on this channel, get into the personal stuff. You're very open in your book. I do recommend it for anyone listening. And you're very open when you speak. You wear your heart on your sleeve, which is part of why I appreciate your content. But I try to really touch on things that maybe everybody else isn't asking. So I know you've talked a lot about your book. I want to just touch on something a little more personal, something that I relate to, which is being a dog owner. Now, of course, you recently lost a pet, and I'm so sorry about Emma. But you've also found a new companion named Clyde, and he's quite the charmer. And I just wanted to know your story with dogs. Did you grow up with dogs? What do dogs mean to you? What have they meant in your life? Or are they just
I'm so much happier to talk about this than talk about politics.
Way more
over
fun.
and over.
I agree.
That's great. That's great. Well, actually, I did not grow up with dogs in the house. We didn't have dogs, cats, or anything. I had a turtle at one time. We had a couple hamsters when we were kids, but we didn't have dogs. And I got Emma, so she was my original dog. I got her in the summer. It was actually June 22nd, 2006. And I know the date because she was a rescue from Hurricane Katrina, which had happened in New Orleans in August of 2005. And she was so sick that she wasn't able to be adopted until about 10 months later, June of the following year. And she gave birth during the hurricane. They found her in a box with 3 puppies. And she was just the most magical, wonderful dog. I got her in New York City, and she lived a great life. So she lived in New York City. We went to the White House. I took her to the Grand Canyon when we drove cross country. She lived in LA. I mean, she lived in New Orleans, New York, and LA. I mean, pretty sweet life for this dog. And she was just the sweetest thing on the planet. And we had to put her down, let her go in February of this year. She was 16. She had bladder cancer. It was a tough year, but we did it right. And we gave her last meal was just a whole cooked chicken that we just put on the floor and let her tear it apart. And then we said goodbye. And then actually, we weren't going to get another dog for a while because we wanted to just have a break, number one, because it was obviously very emotional those last couple months, and it's a lot of work, when you're dealing with it's like dealing with a older grandparent or something. It can be a lot of work. Yeah. So we want to break, but on top of that, I was also supposed to be on a book tour, and we were going to be traveling so much that we just thought, all right, why don't we just wait till the end of the summer and we'll get a dog probably in the beginning of the fall. And then when the lockdown happened because of COVID, I quickly glanced at a couple articles, and they were saying that LA shelters are going to have to put down all of these dogs because they don't have enough staff. They don't know what they're going to do. And I ran to our local shelter, and our local shelter is actually a non-kill shelter. It's a very small shelter. And just about a half hour before, they had rescued a couple dogs that were due to be put down that day. The order was already signed. I actually saw the paperwork that they were to be put down. And I saw this guy in the back who actually looked bizarrely like Emma, although that wasn't really the reason I went for him. And I went up to him. He had no name at the time because they found him with a collar with no tags. He was on the street, and he was just super sweet. He had a scar. He's got a pretty significant scar in the middle of his forehead, so he's lived through some stuff. Yeah. And right before we connected on Skype, he was barking up a storm. So we're getting him trained right now because he's now he's free and happy. So he's very emotional. And I'll just say one other thing, which it's something to go from, the last year of a 16-year-old dog with health issues to go from that. And then the next dog you bring in is a 1-year-old who's ready to roll and ready to play all the time. Man, it's like having 2 different species in your house, really.
Yeah, same bundles of joy, just different personalities. I guess the cheesy saying is true. You don't rescue the dog rescues you.
The dog rescues you, yeah.
I'd say that's true.